everybody, and welcome back to Brands Hatch for the first round of Ferrari Challenge UK in 2024. If you joined us yesterday, you kind of know what to expect from race 2 that's very shortly getting underway. We have seen a fabulous morning full of action, a few surprises up and down the order as well, so there's plenty to look forward to in the final race of the weekend, race number 2 for the Ferrari Challenge UK. Myself, Jack Werrell, will be running you through all of the action, joined with Adam Weller.
Great to be back here at the Brands Hatch circuit, this time GP style. If you didn't join us for qualifying this morning, we're on the big one, the 2.43 mile circuit that has of course hosted Formula One, has been a consistent highlight of Ferrari Challenge UK. And while the layout has changed, pole position has not. Tom Fleming up there at the sharp end again, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. What can this guy not do? He's so quick, so consistent, and whilst the rest of the order has been shuffling, the consistency at the top, like you say, remains as it is. We do have just a bit of an idea as to how our drivers are going to negotiate the GP loop, and we saw an onboard lap from the Indy circuit yesterday. Let's have a look at the GP circuit today. So running towards turn 1, on board with John Dillon. A small look to the apex. Don't nibble the curb too much through the compression and try not to run too wide. Just as you get under the bridge, meander the car over towards the apex. Almost triangulate the hairpin at Druids. Fire the car off the corner deep into the traction control before you're hard on the brakes. Let the car use all of the road. Nibble the curb on the inside at Graham Hill Bend. Not too wide on towards the Cooper Straight. And then it's all about picking your braking point, picking your turning in point towards Surtees, because it is a blind apex. There's a white line on the road there that you need to try and meet the corner or the curbing at. Then you're over the small crest and it's flat out all the way down Pilgrim's Drop, up the rise towards Hawthorne Bend, and you're just almost eyeing so deep into the corner, trying to find your apex. There's not too much curbing to work with. If you just grab the right amount, it slingshots you on towards the Derek Minter Straight before you arrive at Westfield Bend, and use all of the curb possible. Try not to run too wide, and then you're through another compression, this time at Dingle Dell, before one of the hardest corners on the calendar, in towards Sheen Curve. Use as much of your track knowledge as possible in towards the blind apex, and then it's into Sterling's. Use the camber to help rotate the car through the corner. Very easy to run wide, John Dillon, not so this time. And then it's all the way along clearways, under the bridge, pick out your braking point, turn in as almost as early as you dare. It draws you in early. Try not to let the car wash wide as you lose mechanical grip and gain aerodynamic grip, and it's just hugging the pit wall all the way to the line. Adam, it really is a challenging circuit.
It is a lot of complexities across the layout of this circuit, and even yesterday at the Brands Hatch Indy circuit we did see, of course, a lot of drama on the Saturday in qualifying and in the race. We saw a lot going on, and I believe we will now take a bit of a look at what happened on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely so. It was action-packed from start to finish. The day got underway, a bit of cloud cover as the drivers went out for free practice, and it started to warm up, and as the Pirelli P0s started to lay some rubber into the road, the conditions really did start to improve, Adam. We saw the tyres and the times, if anything, really start to come down. But throughout the weekend, we saw a number of drivers just find those limits. Some drivers pushed them a little bit further than they would like. But overall, Saturday was rather successful for most.
It was a very successful opener, of course, most successful of all for Tom Fleming, but we had some brilliant battling in Coppa Shell as well come the race. We saw lots of side-by-side action. We saw that man, Robert Rees, go from last to first in Coppa Shell. We saw lots of physical, frenetic racing. Unfortunately, the race did end under safety car conditions, but celebrations, jubilation, and a lot of action coming out of that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And guess what? We can do it all again today, this time on the GP layouts. And looking down towards the grid, you can see the drivers are forming up. Tom Fleming is, of course, sat there on pole position, so he gets, in theory, that shorter run to turn 1, Adam, but it's the more shallow entry, so his mid-corner speed might not work, and you usually find at Brands Hatch more than anywhere, if you're side-by-side through turn 1, on the way in, the driver on the outside is going to fall away, but on the exit, they get that momentum, and then you're side-by-side on the way back up to Druids.
And there's something of a grand irony about that front row that we see down there on the Brabham Straight at the moment, because you've got Tom Fleming there on pole position, last year's Ferrari Challenge world champion at the Trofeo Pirelli Finale Mondiale race in Mugello just a few months ago. And alongside him is Gilbert Yates, himself a championship winning driver in GTs last year. But Gilbert Yates is this weekend being guided and coached by Tom Fleming, which means that it is very much a familiar front row of the grid, but it's also a situation where if Tom Fleming has given him a little bit too much advice, taught him a little bit too well, then it could bite Tom Fleming in terms of race results here.
Yeah, I mean, Tom necessarily hasn't got too much to worry about with a 9/10 margin in qualifying, but it's those little tricks, those little sort of ideas that the drivers may start to share, and we could see Gilbert Yates utilise that to stay on the tail of Tom Fleming. And obviously we've already spoken about the circuit, the unique challenges that it provides, but one thing I don't think you can see quite so well on camera unless you walk the circuit is just the undulation change. There's so much. You can see it up towards Druids Corner, but Sector 1 made up of Paddock Hill Bend, Druids and Graham Hill Bend before you then go through the long right-hander at Surtees, and this is where the undulation really gets you on that GP layout. So you work your way through turns 4, 5, 6, in theory just a little bit of 7 at Dingle Dell, and Sector 3 really is that crucial one. You need to nail Sector 3 because that leads you not only out of a lap but then into the next one as well. So you've got turns 7, 8 and 9. And 9, that being Clark Curve, it's a lot longer than you think, isn't it, Adam? You turn in and it goes on almost all the way back to turn 1 again.
A lot longer, and from the perspective of camber, it's a lot more complex than it looks from above or even on a 3D map. It's very easy to drift wide coming out of that last corner. We've seen that already this weekend on both the Indy and the GP layout. Meanwhile, down on the grid with the best view in the house of this stunning Ferrari Challenge UK grid is Amanda Stretton and Dave Richardson, and we can go down to them now.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Jack. You were talking about the undulation of this Brands Hatch circuit, whether it be the Indy or the GP circuit. Something that, Amanda, you said to me before we came on the air yesterday is the fact that no one really realises, it doesn't necessarily come across on TV, what the camber is like here on the start-finish straight. And standing next to you, I'm really feeling it today.
I know you're actually taller than me, aren't you?
Oh, all right. Oh,
no,
right.
it is. It is incredibly cambered, and in actual fact, in qualifying as well, if you're really on it and you're really on a hot lap, you want to actually get over and, you know, get this line, get the lower line rather than the higher line again, because you just get a little fraction extra of track time as well. But it is one of the best circuits, I think, in the UK. It is a real old school track. It's a real challenging track as well. And as the guys in the tower were talking just a moment ago about the undulation, you've also got blind corners, which is actually so seldom on many of the modern tracks. You know, they've been designed on big flat spaces of land, so you can sort of see where you're going. But Brands, you know, particularly going into the first corner into Paddock, it's totally blind. As you are coming up the little hill just before the right-hand bend, you can't see where you're going. So you have to get your line absolutely spot on. You've got to be in the right place on the track, because otherwise it just throws you out into the gravel, as we've already seen today.
Indeed we have. So we're going to make our way through the grid then. Just before we go any further, I'm going to grab a quick word with Gary Redman, providing full VO. Doesn't mind me doing that? No, what a generous guy. Gary, well done. Welcome back to the Ferrari Challenge formally. Great to have you back here. Yesterday, of course, a delight because you were on the podium.
Yeah, that's right, I was, yeah. Yeah, it was nice. It was nice to be back and nice to be on the podium.
To be fair, if I may be bold, Gary, you got some overtaking to do today.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. I hadn't done the GP circuit before, so it was a lot of learning this morning. And clearly I wasn't quick enough, so yeah, I've got some overtaking to do.
Well, we know you're capable of doing that. Thank you, Gary, for taking time to talk to us as I return to my colleague, Amanda, here. Gary really impressed me yesterday, you know, coming back into the Ferrari Challenge UK and taking a podium on his return. But as he points out, Yeah, the GP circuit is a completely different animal to the Indy.
Absolutely, it certainly is, and presents all sorts of challenges as well. I want to have a quick chat with Peter, if I can. Here he is. Very quickly, just having a little bit of love from everybody, finally from his wife. Oh, he nearly missed her. That would have been bad. Pete, just a really quick word with you before you get in.
Okay.
I know you've got a deal going, and it involves a podium.
Yes, so if I win, she's going to...
No, we don't want to know what the deal is.
Right.
We don't.
Right. Sorry. We'll keep that. Sorry.
But there
rated 18.
It's definitely rated 18, but
Yes.
we are expecting you on the podium.
Yes.
Are you?
Yes, I'm going to... You mean a strip of...
No, not that. Okay, off you go, off you go.
How is it that you managed to bring out the worst in people like Peter Hunter? I mean, bad enough as he is anyway. Goodness me, Amanda.
His poor wife is walking away with her head in her hands, despairing.
Dare you be so... Oh, honestly. Okay, yes, we get back on the script, Dave. Good luck to you. I hope you have a brilliant race, being coached, of course, by Jake Hill. Talk about being thrown off my script completely. John Dillon up here on our left-hand side. Good quality from John. Going to be a man to watch, that's for sure, in the number 61 car. Right alongside that is the car, of course, of Andrew Morrow that we can see here, car number 1, and Johnny Kane is Andrew's driver coach. Johnny just giving him final words of advice ahead of the start of the race, and Andrew's got some work to do as well.
He does. I wonder if, it was really sort of nip and tuck at the front of qualifying, really, with the top 3 guys. I wonder if he actually got held up with the session being cut a little bit short, because certainly starting in a slightly unfamiliar position is Andrew Morrow on the 2nd row of the grid in P3. But all eyes, I think, are going to be on the front of the grid, because obviously, I mean, Tom has been leading the way really all weekend so far, hasn't he?
Yes, you're absolutely right. But I think, if I'm honest with you, rather than take any shine away from Tom, I was so impressed with Gilbert Yates. I don't know if you're going to try and grab a quick word with Gilbert here, because impressive beyond comparing quali, and of course a front row start for him. Let's see how he can go. He's with Amanda now.
Gilbert, are you all right to have a very quick word? So tell me, what's it like starting on the front? And I mean, quali, wow, you pulled that out the bag.
Yeah, Tom was very good. He's doing my data for me, so he gave me a bit of good information, and then we just had to go out and put the best lap in, so we've done a good job.
So you actually were analysing the data with him beforehand, and you knew where you could make some time and where you really needed to work on the track. Where was that?
Yeah, I knew we needed to work on the track. I was out the back a bit, and I just needed to get switched on and put the proper pace on.
Is it more challenging? Because obviously this is a track where one of the things I always talk about is the fact you've got so many blind corners. You've got to have the car positioned right to have full commitment going through.
Exactly, round the back's a bit like that. You've got to be fully committed, and you just have to understand the track, because you're committing to the corner before you see the corner.
Well, listen, good luck. I don't know, how does it work with your driver coach alongside you? I mean...
Well, hopefully he's going to let me win.
Good luck.
If I know Tom Fleming at all, he can be the best driver coach in the world. He ain't going to let anyone past him.
I doubt it.
Client or not, do you know what I mean? Tom is going to want to be winning this. Make no mistake. So it is an intriguing front row, because you have Tom Fleming here to my right-hand side, and then Gilbert Yates, who he's coaching.
An all-Irish, Northern Irish. Yeah.
It's formidable.
Formidable.
Absolutely formidable. Listen, the 488 Challenge Evo cars roar into life now with their engines. Stand by, because for Ferrari Challenge UK, here comes race 2.
Great to almost get a driver's eye view down there on the grid, and obviously chatting to a number of our drivers as well, and just those little insights that you might not get. For example, Gilbert Yates, we now know where he started to struggle coming into this weekend. All through that GP loop, he just couldn't quite piece it together. Chatting with Tom Fleming, probably the best person that you can ask on that grid. But for me, I think all eyes Tom Fleming, all eyes Robert Rees, but you just can't rule out any of the others, because they could just be working their way through. They might have figured something out in between qualifying and now on the data, and maybe push forward that little bit more. But Gilbert Yates, if he can nail the start, he could stand himself in good stead.
Yeah, absolutely right. And the thing is as well, is we've seen already a few times this weekend just how much of a factor with this much cloud cover, with these relatively low ambient temperatures, just how much of a factor cold tyres have been across this weekend. And so if anybody struggles to get heat into the tyres right now during this formation lap, whether they're the fastest driver out there on the grid or not, cold tyres would cause them some issues. There is the temperature. It's only 11 degrees Celsius. Again, about a degree up on what we had yesterday in terms of air temp, but also 2 degrees down track temp wise. It was 20 degrees track temp yesterday just before the race. We're currently sitting at 18 with some higher winds to contend with as well. So it is going to be quite difficult to get heat into those Pirelli P0s. Of course, they're a very durable racing tyre, but with that comes a certain amount of resistance to heat, and it does usually take a little while to get them heated up.
Yeah, they do indeed. So this is how they will line up. Tom Fleming on pole position. He posted a 1 minute 27.873. He will have Gilbert Yates alongside 73.11 on your front row. Then it is Andrew Morrow. He has John Dillon for company on row 2 of the grid. Looking at what will be row 3, we have Pranav Vangala, and then we're already back at our Coppa Shell pole sitter, Robert Rees. What a qualifying from him. 1:32.051, your Coppa Shell pole time. Mike Dewhurst and Peter Hunter make up row 4, car number 78 and car 82. And moving on to what will be row 5, it is Gary Redman and Stephen Dobson. Not quite the grid we saw yesterday. We've had Darren Howell and it was Hymandra Pillai that have chosen not to partake in this race. But what we saw from qualifying and practice this morning and the race yesterday, it's never going to take away from the just vast, almost performance that a lot of these drivers do. But looking at the drivers heading down clearways, we're about to get this race underway. So with Tom Fleming on the inside, it's Gilbert Yates on the outside. The red lights are on the gantry. It's all down to Tom Fleming now. He's controlling this pace. He's got his eyes on those red lights. Who will be first to react? No overtaking up until the line, so you can react as quickly as you like. You can't overtake until you get there. The lights go out. It's a good start from Tom Fleming. John Dillon is immediately trying to attack. However, it looks like Pranav Vangala is being super aggressive off the start, trying to capitalise nice and early. He's since come under pressure from Robert Rees as they climb up the hill up towards Druids Corner, all the way around the outside for John Dillon. Around the outside of Andrew Morrow. Can he make it work for third place? He'll be the inside on the run down towards Graham Hilbrand. They dive on the brakes and he's through. John Dillon, what a start, but he runs slightly deep and that allows Andrew Morrow back up the inside.
They're going to be side by side again then as they go through Surtees. John Dillon this time on the outside. Can he hold it all the way through the corner? No. By the time they get to the apex of Surtees, Morrow is through and, well, at least somewhat comfortable in third position. As you said, though, Pranav Vangala with a flying start, one of the only drivers, in fact, I think potentially the only racing debutant this weekend who has prior experience of this GP circuit. Days of driving here at the Grand Prix circuit on non-race weekends are few and far between. Vangala has been lucky enough to have a little bit of a go here before on the GP loop, and he's looking to use that experience to stay competitive in Trofeo Pirelli. All 4 drivers ahead of him in this category have a fairly significant back catalogue of racing behind them.
Yeah, Andrew Morrow having fended off the attention of John Dillon, what he's now trying to do is apply that pressure on towards Gilbert Yates. So Tom Fleming already just starting to run away with this. Out of the final corner he will come and will break the beam to complete the first lap. Gilbert Yates over the line, still with Andrew Morrow giving chase. They're not really that far apart. Then it's John Dillon and Pranav Vangala. Robert Rees in the lead of Coppa Shell at the moment. He's just doing everything he can to run away from Peter Hunter, who has taken second place off of car number 78, that being Mike Dewhurst.
Yes, so all shuffling there as well, and we heard Peter Hunter determined to try and get a good result here in Coppa Shell this time around. Was strong in free practice, strong in qualifying, and had a great start to his season yesterday on the Indy circuit. Not such a great start to the race, though, for the driver at the back. Stephen Dobson has ended up dropping off the field a bit there. Yeah,
I don't know whether it was just maybe getting caught out early on, and of course when you're running in a pack you almost can't. You've got to visually imagine the corner on its way. You've got to look through the car up the road and aim for the apex that your hope is still there. So maybe just a small mistake from Stephen Dobson, but he's still out there, still running lights ablaze, just trying to close up to the tail end of the field up the road. Gilbert Yates still holding on to what is second place, and Andrew Morrow just struggling to keep tabs with him at this early stage in the race. Tom Fleming, however, 2.3 seconds the lead margin after one lap of the Brands Hatch GP loop as well, and immediately into the 1 minute 30s.
Could well be somewhere around 4 seconds when they cross the line this time by at the conclusion of the second lap. There is Van Gala just testing the limits a little bit too far at Sterling's. Great visualizer there. Sometimes it's absolutely a perfect corner. It's got such great camber, as you alluded to in qualifying earlier on, Jack. But the thing is, if you miss that apex just a little bit, you usually find out about it on the outside of the corner. That's exactly what happened there to Van Gala, but he managed to manage the moment nicely there. Dewhurst still studying the rear here of Hunter, falling back about a second behind the second place man in Coppa Shell. And sure enough, the gap up again at the front of the order overall. Fleming 3.1 seconds clear. Hunter, though, a bit wide through Paddock Hill Bend. He's lost time to his closest adversary there.
Yeah, Mike Dewhurst doing everything he can just to close back up again and maybe force a further mistake. Tom Fleming last time through naturally set the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 28.503. And to put that into perspective, that is only, what, 7/10 of a second away from the time that put him on pole position. And that sounds like quite a lot. But on the second lap, to show he can extract that pace nice and early, it really shows he's a force to be reckoned with.
It really does, absolutely right, and it's so impressive to see how quickly these drivers get onto the money. There's a bit of downtime to be had. Of course, the Ferrari Challenge package overall, going beyond the racing into the overall weekend, you've got the wonderful hospitality, you've got all of these things, but that can almost lull you into a bit of, a relaxation mode. You've then got to get straight back into that racing mindset, back into the unique focus that you need in the cockpit of one of these 488 Challenge Evos, and everyone's doing a magnificent job of that right now.
Yeah, even more so with Tom Fleming, because he broke the beam as he crossed the line with a 1 minute 28.505. What lap did he do before? A 1 minute 28.503. So 0.02 of a second away from what would have matched his fastest lap. And just that consistency, we said doing it once is good, but if you can consistently do that, it will win you races. The lead margin now out to 4.6 seconds.
Obviously, Fleming this weekend representing the HR Owen dealership. You see there Peter Hunter for Stratstone Manchester, Dick Lovett Swindon being represented by Dewhurst in this battle for second in Coppa Shell. The dealer partners of Ferrari UK, such an important part of this series. I was speaking to HR Owen, one of their representatives, James Champion, just now, along with Tom Fleming, and he kind of elbowed me and said, 5 years' time, Le Mans for Tom? I said, I don't think it's going to be 5 years. No. He's so impressive.
No, absolutely not. And Ferrari will know that. They will be eager to keep him on the roster. And Andrew Morrow, we said he's just struggling to keep tabs with Gilbert Yates. I think in trying to stick with him, he's just starting to push those track limits. Quite an easy place to do it down at Graham Hill Bend. He's got a track limits warning for turn 3, and you can just wash the car in, try and carry as much speed through there as possible, and just pushing slightly too hard, I think, this time. Tom Fleming, overall fastest sector 2 at the moment, so he's still pushing forward. In the lead of the race, he comes through the final corner now, and he's already on towards the start-finish line, breaks the beam. Are we going to go even deeper into the 1 minute 28? No, but the consistency stays. A 1 minute 28.523, so now 200ths apart. The biggest lap variation Tom Fleming has had in this race is 200ths of a second.
And that, you cannot underestimate just how impressive that is. So rarely do you see that level of metronomic performance. GT cars are inherently unpredictable beasts. 670 horsepower in the case of this machine, the Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo. Obviously, as the race goes on, the conditions change, the weather conditions, the tyres change across the half hour as well. What state of wear are they in? The fact that he's able to be so metronomic is hugely impressive. Also impressing me at the moment, Andrew Morrow. He's closing in, isn't he, on Yates?
Yeah, he is indeed. That gap is now within 1 second, and last time through he said his personal fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 29.331, so he really is starting to close up, and visually you can see that gap coming down now. And looking at the sector times, Gilbert Yates is substantially quicker through sector 1. I think it's that sector 2 that Gilbert Yates, by his own admission, said he's not quite as confident. That's where Andrew Morrow is starting to strike.
That's the thing, isn't it? Andrew Morrow raced here last year on the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit as part of his campaign that won him the championship in Trofeo Pirelli last year in Ferrari Challenge UK. So he's got that knowledge, he's got that experience, Gilbert Yates has raced here before, but not in this car, not in this championship. And there's no replacement for that experience, ultimately.
No, absolutely not. And, well, Tom Fleming, however he's doing it, I will never know. His fastest lap of the race remains at a 1 minute 28.503. He's broken the beam, a 1 minute 28.506. So that lap variation stays at 200ths of a second. How he's doing this, I will never know. But he's still going quicker than ever through Sector 2. So he's just matching that delta absolutely perfectly. The lead gap out to 6.9 seconds.
So 1 minute 28.503 into 1 minute 28.505, 1 minute 28.523, 128.506.
You can't get more consistent than that.
I know it does sound a little bit like I'm doing a Rain Man impression there, but it is honestly an incredible level of consistency, metronomic performance that we're seeing there.
Yeah, 100%. Tom Fleming, yeah, how he's doing it, God only knows, but he is so good behind the wheel of one of these 488 Challenge Evo cars. Hopefully we can see him out once again at some point throughout the Ferrari Challenge UK calendar. Andrew Morrow, he fell away just slightly. The gap is back to over a second between himself and Gilbert Yates in second place. John Dillon will visually be able to see the cars up the road, especially on the way down Pilgrim's Drop and maybe over the start-finish line as well. 2.2 seconds between John Dillon and Andrew Morrow. Looking at the sector times, I've got a feeling the gap may have started to come down, then maybe a mistake all of a sudden from Andrew Morrow because he was a second slower through sector 2, so just pushing that slight bit too hard, and visually you can see the gap has come down, and I don't think all is going the way of Andrew Morrow as he's just coming through the final corner now. He's remaining out on circuit, maybe a missed gear.
Possibly that's something as simple as that. Yes, John Dillon getting past then. Dillon up to third position. Morrow down to P4. The Irishman hoping to try and be able to carry on, but it does look like he's falling back a little bit here from John Dillon. So Dillon up in third place with Morrow now behind him. Can he go hunting for Yates?
Yeah, it looks like he has, well, he's obviously definitely got past Andrew Morrow, but that gap is now almost 4 seconds up to Gilbert Yates. So Gilbert will see that Andrew Morrow is no longer behind him. He will be struggling to see Tom Fleming at any point on the circuit. So yeah, Andrew Morrow, that car is just going to head in towards the paddock now. So Andrew will fall out of the running, but for the moment that will put Pranav Vangala up into 4th in class, and Robert Rees, he will be 5th overall and still leading Coppa Shell, now with a lead gap of what is 8.6 seconds.
Yeah, Andrew Morrow then into pit lane. More than likely the end of his race. That's a big shame. This is your battle for second position then in Coppa Shell. As you said, Hunter versus Dewhurst. Great pair of drivers. Hunter, of course, in his debut season last year in the Ferrari Challenge UK. Initially, he was put into Trofeo Pirelli at the start of last year and was then subsequently moved into Coppa Shell. But he really did impress as part of the Ready to Race program. And as he's got more and more accustomed to the 488 Challenge Evo, the full thoroughbred racing machine, he is looking more and more like one of the front runners in that Coppa Shell class. We started to get a hint of it at the end of last season. Same goes for Robert Rees as well, actually, to that end. And now both of them, the 1-2 currently in Coppa Shell, really are coming good.
Yeah, they really are indeed. And I mean, for the moment, Peter Hunter, he'll be over the moon, sat there in second place. He can't quite keep tabs with Robert Rees, but he's just trying to run away from Mike Dewhurst. But we've got a view here of Stephen Dobson at the tail end of the order, and I think this is the reason why. We saw it yesterday, we're seeing it today. Blue flags being waved, traffic could slowly start to become an issue, but as soon as Tom Fleming, if he gets round to that battle between Hunter and Dewhurst, that could mean a position changed or a position made.
That's exactly the case. Dobson doing a great job there to just kind of get out of the way of Tom Fleming. The 73 and the 74 cars in tandem on the circuit then as they go under the bridge here towards Clark Curve and Clearways. And Tom Fleming having a brilliant race to this point. 8.9 seconds clear at the front of the order last time by. Inevitably, that will have extended at least a little bit as he crosses the line once again. His previous lap of 1:29.2, so he started to come out of that metronomic 28.5 pace that we've seen. But that is simply managing the car. Tyre management, brake management, just car management in general. These machines are very durable and very quick. But the quickest drivers know that pushing 10 out of 10 all the time doesn't really get you that far by the end of the race.
No, it really doesn't. So just managing that pace, I think, to the end of the race. 17.5 minutes of the race still to go. Gilbert Yates was just slightly falling into the grasp of John Dillon. However, I think he's responded as he's seen the red, white and green flash in his rearview mirror just start to get larger and larger and larger, and has pulled away since then. The gap up to 4.1 seconds between second and third overall. In terms of Robert Rees, his lead margin in Coppa 10.5 seconds. What an opening start to this race for him. We're not even halfway through yet, and he's already building up quite a substantial margin. But Hunter and Dewhurst still less than a second apart. That's really where we need to be looking.
Of course, last year was Robert Rees's first season in the Ferrari Challenge UK. Has previously raced a classic Ferrari in other competitions here in the UK, and has got the better part of a decade of on and off racing experience under his belt. But it was really the end of last year's Ferrari Challenge UK where we started to see Robert Rees just find the optimum speed, his comfortableness with the car. He won a race in Coppa at Spa, the season finale of last year's Ferrari Challenge UK, and he's carried that momentum very nicely into this second season of running. Fully expecting him to be a championship contender. He's got a great lead at the moment, 10.5 seconds, almost the exact same lead actually as what Fleming has over the Trofeo Pirelli field.
Yeah, it just shows that the pair of those two are the highlights in their class respectively. But for the moment, Mike Dewhurst really is not letting Peter Hunter run away with this. He's got his lights on, which in racing driver language means I'm coming and I'm not going to make it easy for you. So last time over the line, they were 0.931 of a second apart. They break the beam now, and it's within half a second, or just over half a second now, 0.546, the gap between Peter Hunter and Mike Dewhurst. They are getting closer, and looking at the lap time, I'm not sure what it was in terms of that lap that made it work, because if anything, Peter Hunter went over, or his personal fastest through sector 3, but still just can't quite pull away from Mike Dewhurst through that final sector. So I've got a feeling this is still going to get closer, and we're only halfway.
Yeah, Dewhurst has a wonderful team behind him this weekend. We've already spoken, of course, this weekend on air with Ed Bridle, his driver coach. We've also, I've been able to speak to another person who's supporting him this weekend in the form of Jeff Page, who's a historic racing car specialist, prepares his Formula One car for him that he demos around the UK and Europe, including here at Brands Hatch previously. So Dewhurst, even though he's in his racing debut, he comes with a lot of experience underneath his belt, both in a car and in his garage. Amanda Stretton, meanwhile, is down in the pit lane. I think she's got some information for us.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, just a few moments ago, we saw the car of Andrew Morrow, the #1 car that is still parked, sadly, in the pit lane, coming in. Andrew, that was a gearbox problem, wasn't it? But this was a legacy that you sort of first noticed in qualifying.
Yeah, at the end of qualifying, we noticed a problem with the gearbox, but we didn't have any time to fix it, so we sort of knew we'll go out and see what happens, but half expecting that there'd be hassle throughout the race. But first 10 minutes, the race was perfect, and then the warning light came on, and just you wouldn't select gears. You were getting even gears, and 4 for 6. Just one was too low, one was too high, so we had to retire the car.
I did wonder, actually, if your quali lap had been hindered by the red flag, but it was, in fact, as you say, the gearbox issues. Was there any chance you could stay out there, or, as you just said, 4th and 6th just isn't enough to keep you at the front?
Look, maybe we could have stayed out there, but done more harm to the car in the long run, so we just decided to retire the car and see what the problem is back at the garage, lay off courses.
Well, disappointing. Hopefully we're going to see you maybe at 1 or 2 other races this year.
Yeah, we'll see. The plans aren't made yet, so European Series is our focus this year, but we might come along to 1 or 2 more UKs.
We hope so. Bad luck. Sorry it ended this way for you. Thanks a lot, Andrew.
Yeah, great to hear from Amanda Stretton, and of course Andrew Morrow down in the pit lane. Hopefully we do see more of him throughout this year, but as he said, Adam, he wants to focus on Ferrari Challenge Europe, and if you ask that question to a lot of the drivers that are out there saying, obviously this season you're out Ferrari Challenge UK, what is the goal? Some of them, if not most of them, will say Ferrari Challenge Europe, because they do it so well, whether it's any sort of the regional or the national ones, but those sort of international ones, that's where Ferrari just excel more than any.
Yeah, I mean, all of the Ferrari Challenge series are absolutely phenomenal. We, of course, have 2 national series, the UK series here. We've got the Japanese series as well, which has really picked up the baton from the former Asia-Pacific Championship very nicely indeed. And then you've got the 2 continental series, the North American and the European. And no matter which series you race in, you've got this fabulous package of engineers with hospitality, everything you could possibly wish to have. It is a wonderful thing, regardless of which series you race in. But certainly, yes, especially since we are so close to mainland Europe here in the UK, a lot of the drivers do often consider that progression up. And I think we are going to see Andrew Morrow juggling a little bit, because I know we haven't seen the last of him in Ferrari Challenge UK this year, but certainly that series, the European series, and of course the new Ferrari 296 Challenge are certainly high up his list at the moment, as I'm sure is Finale Mondiale at Imola in a few months' time.
Yeah, 100%. Hopefully we see a bit more of Tom Fleming as well. Maybe some of the other drivers will be quite happy to see him wander over to other ventures with Ferrari. But in terms of Ferrari Challenge UK, it would be a great pleasure to see him back. Since setting that 1 minute 28.503 earlier on, he's sort of backed it off a little bit. We saw him into the 1 minute 29s, but he's not done there, is he, Adam? Let's be honest. The 1 minute 28.675 last time through, extending that lead margin up to, what, 15.8 seconds now. Pranav Vangala running around 4th overall, 4th, of course, in Trofeo Pirelli. Robert Rees over the line, still leading Coppa by quite a substantial margin. In terms of Peter Hunter and Mike Dewhurst, they've spread out just a touch, haven't they?
Definitely the case. Great as well to have Gary Redman here with us once again, currently running 4th place in the Coppa Shell category. Of course, he did not race here back in 2019. We didn't run the GP circuit back in 2019. So as he said to Dave Richardson on the grid a few moments ago, this is his first experience of racing at this circuit. A bucket list item for anybody to race on the GP circuit. And just welcoming people back into the paddock is always such a great thing to have. You do have that sometimes. I've bumped into, I think, 3 drivers who we're very familiar with here in the Ferrari Challenge UK paddock who aren't here right now, but towards the end of the year I think we're going to see some familiar faces re-emerging in preparation for a full 2025, of course the first year in the UK for the 296.
Yeah, there's still hopefully plenty of talent to come through the Ferrari Challenge UK, and a bit of returning talent as well. It is a very adaptable championship, very accepting championship as well. Tom Fleming over the line, 17.6 seconds to the good now. We saw Robert Rees just pick his way through and past the 74 machine of Stephen Dobson, so he's in theory lapsed at the tail end of his Coppa Shell class. That just shows how quick Robert Rees is going.
Yeah, Rees has been very impressive here. I'll tell you what is impressive as well is the parity between Hunter and Dewhurst. The gap last time across the line was 1.3 seconds, but it's a lot less now as they come towards the start-finish line. Again, ebb and flow. You pointed it out, not just lap to lap, but sector to sector. And at the moment, the pendulum is firmly swinging towards that 78 car. Mike Dewhurst looking strong, giving Hunter a lot to think about.
Yeah, and if they continue going at this rate, not too far up the road, is of course Stephen Dobson. So they might have a bit of traffic to think about over the coming laps. There's just a small breakdown in terms of lap time. Last time through, yeah, Peter Hunter just giving away about a second to Mike Dewhurst. Not exactly what he would want at this stage in the race. Under 10 minutes of the race to go. 9 minutes until we will see the checkered flag fall. Tom Fleming back over the line with a 1 minute 28.788. The consistency of Tom Fleming in this race has been monumental.
Yeah, he has been absolutely great. 19.2 seconds to the good now over Gilbert Yates in second position. Of course, we know that Tom Fleming is more than likely only making this appearance within the Ferrari Challenge UK Championship this year. So Gilbert Yates, of course, in for the full season. He's going to be scoring really good points here if he can hold on to that second position ahead of John Dillon. Yates and Dillon more than likely going to be 2 of the biggest full season combatants in Trofeo Pirelli this year. So Yates getting any result over the highly experienced John Dillon is a very, very handy thing to have.
Yeah, absolutely so. And Gilbert Yates is just doing everything he needs to do in the position that he is in. Half a second quicker, just under than John Dillon on the lap prior. He's extended that margin between himself and John Dillon to, what, 5 seconds now. Over the line, we've seen Peter Hunter and Mike Dewhurst. Whatever went wrong on the previous lap for Mike Dewhurst, I'm guessing happened in Sector 2, because the gap has come out from less than a second to 3.2.
Yeah, again, ebb and flow. And the Dick Lovett Swindon representative is now going to have to get the hammer down. 7 minutes and 44 seconds left of this race for him. And certainly now on the back foot in this second battle for second in the Coppa Shell category. There's Redmond fourth in Coppa Shell at the moment. He has just been lapped by Fleming. Fleming across the line already to start lap 16 of this race. 7 minutes and 20 seconds remain here in the second race of the weekend in the Ferrari Challenge UK. First day of Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit for Tom Fleming, and so far it's gone exactly to the script he'd have written out.
Yeah, 100%. He's been dealing with the cards he's been dealt more than competitively. The lead gap up to almost 21 seconds now, really starting to pull away. Gilbert Yates fell away from, or almost fell into the hands of John Dillon a slight bit on the lap prior. 0.8 of a second lost for Gilbert Yates, but he can just manage that pace to the end of the race with just over 6.5 minutes remaining. Pranav Vangala just grabbing the attention of the stewards for track limits, just starting to push the limit a little bit further than I'm sure they would like. Over the line has been Robert Rees, his lead margin up to 12 seconds over Peter Hunter. Mike Dewhurst over the line has not really got any closer to Peter Hunter on the lap prior. He started to fall away a bit more. We saw it at 3.1, it's up to 3.8 seconds now. So Mike Dewhurst, I fear that was all she wrote for that little battle.
Maybe so, but we'll wait and see. With 6 minutes and 10 seconds to go, the pendulum could swing again, but certainly, yes, all signs pointing towards Hunter being fairly safe right now, second in the Coppa Shell category. Of course, Shell and Pirelli, two of the biggest partners of Ferrari racing worldwide, particularly here in Ferrari Challenge. It's such a hectic time for Ferrari Challenge globally as well. 2 weeks ago, they were, of course, racing on the Japanese Grand Prix support bill. Always one of the most prestigious weekends when you're on a GP support bill. And the Japanese series starting off at Suzuka with a great flourish. We're now here this weekend. Our colleague Dave Richardson is almost immediately then over to the North American season opener at COTA a week from now. And then the European series finally gets underway. Back to Mugello, where Finale Mondiale was just a few months ago. And those two events, of course, will be the inaugural appearances in both North America and Europe of the new 296 Challenge. So we've got 4 championships starting over the course of a calendar month. And we've got the small matter of a new car being welcomed into the fold as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully we can see the 296 Challenge car make an appearance in the regional championships over the next year. That would be brilliant to see as well. Tom Fleming over the line, and he's still lapping within half a second of the fastest lap that he's already set. His lead margin is just extending further and further and further. And hopefully, as I say, Adam, 2025 will be the year we will see that 296.
That is the plan as I understand it. And in 2020, when the Evo kit of the 488 Challenge car came out, we did actually see the Evo cars being shown to potential customers and some of the existing drivers on the Ferrari Challenge UK weekend. So don't be surprised if you see a 296 Challenge, at least in the paddock, before the end of the year. And if you want an early sneak peek at that very, very pretty race car, I've had the chance to see one in the flesh. If you do want an early peek, I suspect we might see them at least in some capacity before the end of the year, if not on the grid this season in Ferrari Challenge UK. You saw there the brake disc glowing on Gilbert Yates, and he is still pushing, and he's pushing with cause as well, because about 5 or 6 minutes ago he was 5 seconds clear of John Dillon. He's now only 3.1 seconds clear of John Dillon in this battle for second place, so the gap is coming down. So I grant you is the amount of time left in in the race, but it could still go one of a couple of ways here.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think he's lost a bit more time on this lap as Gilbert Yates. He was 0.3 or only about 0.2 slower through sector 2 as they break the beam on the run towards sector 2. Let's see if they have got closer. 28 or 40.0 for Gilbert Yates, 40.2 for John Dillon, so the gap has come out once again, and that goes back to what you said earlier, Adam. It's that ebbing and flowing that you'll start to see. 3 minutes of the race remaining still, or 3 minutes still remaining on the clock, and Tom Fleming, he's doing pretty much what he knows best at the front, but in terms of Gilbert Yates, he cannot afford one single slip-up.
No, absolutely not. Gilbert Yates getting that data assistance that we heard about on the pre-grid from Tom Fleming as well this weekend. So he's been able to pick the brain of the current Ferrari Challenge World Champion, which I'm sure has done him a great many favours. Gilbert Yates using all of that knowledge to try and learn this car. He's raced GT machinery previously, but never a prancing horse, and he's been loving that experience.
Yeah, he has indeed, and he's really making the most of it, of course, being coached by Tom Fleming as well. He really knows what to do behind the wheel of one of these 488 Challenge Evo cars. Now, over the line, the lead gap was 26.5 seconds by way of Tom Fleming. Gilbert Yates pulled away just slightly from John Dillon on the lap prior. Robert Rees over the line, still leading rather comfortably in Coppa Shell, and what a comeback it has been. The start of the weekend for him didn't necessarily go the way he would have wanted, but he converted the back of the grid to a race 1 win. And this morning, it's been fairly faultless.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a very impressive drive from Rees. 5th overall, of course, as well. And 14 seconds clear of Hunter at the front in the Coppa Shell classification. And I'm sure we'll see a lot more of these kind of results from Rees as the season goes on. I've had a chance to talk to him this morning, even before free practice. I think we were both hunched over morning coffees at the time. And yes, he was very optimistic, I think, about his driving today on the basis of what he did on Sunday. I think it's a shame as well that we didn't get to see Duncan Howell out there today as well, because he said, you know what, I could have kept him behind me yesterday. He said, but you know, I'm still quite new to racing. I wasn't really sure how to engage in that battle. And I think Duncan Howell, as the season goes on, he is going to be such a threat for the Coppa Shell wins and potentially the Coppa Shell Championship. Yeah, absolutely. We saw what Darren Howell could do yesterday, and I think today, if Darren could get out there, it would have been a fabulous race we would have watched unfold. Tom Fleming just working his way through Sterling's now and kicking the dust up on the exit. We've got 30 seconds remaining, so we will get another lap out of this one. We saw Gilbert Yates flashing the lights, trying to communicate to, I think it was Gary Redman at the time, that he is coming and he cannot afford to be held up but in any way, shape or form, because John Dillon is there. 3.1 seconds, quite the margin, but it just takes a couple of corners, maybe not to go the way you want, and all of a sudden you're under 5 from the car behind. Well picked up, by the way. Quite why he became Duncan in my head there, I have no idea. Apologies, Darren. Great to talk to Darren Howell earlier on in the day. Clock hit 0 then on this race. Now, in previous years in Ferrari Challenge UK, this would be the final lap, but it is now 30 minutes plus 1 lap. Therefore, this is the penultimate lap of the race. So Tom Fleming only with something in the region of, well, as he comes out to Surtees, about 4 miles left between himself and the race victory here. It could be a perfect weekend for Tom Fleming and HR Owen UK here.
Yeah, when we mentioned traffic may slowly start to become an issue for Gilbert Yates. He's worked his way through and past Gary Redman. So too was John Dillon, but the gap between the pair of them, 2.4 seconds now. So it has come down. They've got about a lap and a half still to go before they will see the checkered flag. But Tom Fleming doing everything he needs to do, almost at a lead gap of 30 seconds. Pranav Van Gala earlier on, he just got picked up by the stewards once again for a potential off-track infringement, as if he was just starting to wander over those track limits just that little bit too much. But he's held on to the car for the moment, still sat there in 4th place and still lapping very consistently indeed. Robert Rees through the final corner, still leading Coppa Shell, and he will go on to what will be his penultimate lap of the race.
And in terms of Coppa dealer as well, it's worth noting that even though Andrew Morrow has obviously retired, he is not the only representative of the Irish Charles Hurst dealership on this grid, because Gilbert Yates also represented by Charles Hurst, or Charles Hurst being represented by Gilbert Yates, I should say. That dealership with something like 25 years of history now, selling Ferraris over in Ireland. And he is doing a great job for them as well, second place. And again, of course, Gilbert Yates, seemingly, from what we know of everyone's plans, the first of the confirmed full season runners as well. So good buoyancy there, I'm sure, for Gilbert and for the dealer as well.
Yeah, by way of Robert Rees, I said he was going on to his penultimate lap of the race, but the absolutely rapid Tom Fleming has already closed that gap, already worked his way through and past. So Robert Rees has to do a lap less than everybody else. Tom Fleming, he's not taking any liberties with these track limits, is he? He's using all of the painted white line, he's using all of the curb, and then just a little bit more, and still not dropping pace.
No, exactly. His last lap was only a few hundredths off of his best, so after just easing it off in the mid-race, he's fully back on it now, has set 2 very impressive sectors on his final lap. He's got one more lap of the Ferrari 488 here before he does the 296 in a couple of weeks, and he intends to make them count.
Yeah, absolutely so. So the checkered flag is ready. The flash of the lights from Tom Fleming, and he makes it 2 from 2 here this weekend at Brands Hatch. Round 1 of the Ferrari Challenge UK, just about in front of Robert Rees as he goes over the line and takes the win here in Coppa Shell. What of Gilbert Yates? What of Tom Fleming? That, or what of John Dillon? That will have to come, because Peter Hunter crosses the line to finish second in Coppa Shell, 6th overall, followed then by Mike Dewhurst. He will round out your Coppa Shell podium and finish in 7th place. And John Dillon has really closed up onto the coattails of Gilbert Yates, but it's too little too late. Maybe with a few more laps to go it might have worked, but Gilbert Yates over the line, he will take 2nd overall, 2nd in Trofeo Pirelli, and John Dillon, he gave it absolutely everything, but 3rd will have to do.
Yeah, great racing between the two of them, but John Dillon, I think with maybe one more lap, if it was 30 minutes plus 2, John Dillon might have been able to lodge an attack, but not quite on that occasion. He'll still be happy with an overall podium. That starts his season off to a very good beginning. And well, both circuits, both of the Brands Hatch layouts have provided us with lots of excitement, and a word as well as we see Tom Fleming there confirmed as the winner on our screen, to the man who just crossed the line in front of our commentary position, Pranav Van Gala, after not getting to the flag yesterday. This time he finishes 4th overall and nets himself some good points within Trofeo Pirelli.
Yeah, absolutely so. It's great to see Pranav almost progress over the weekend. He's been getting quicker and more competitive, and I think whilst it's not a podium and he won't pick up silverware, 4th place will be more than enough for him. And of course his driver coach, Jake Hill, the pair of those two have been working together for the best part of a decade now. And Tom Fleming, I don't know whether he's trying to keep that car legal, but just running over the grass very slightly, potentially trying to raise the ride height. He's got sticky tyres, he's trying to pick up as much as possible. You can see him using all the marbles and doing everything he can just to make sure that car doesn't fail on ride height.
Maybe he's a gardener and landscaper during the week. I haven't asked him what he gets up to. I do actually know for a fact that he has represented his university, the British University Karting Championship as well. And I said to him, please tell me you showed up in the full Ferrari suit. He says, of course I did. So he takes every opportunity he can, of course, to show just how quick he is now. And he's quick in just about anything you can throw him at. And once again proving that he is absolutely exemplary in a 488 Challenge Evo. He is really quite a special talent though, and we're going to see a lot more of Tom Fleming in red over the next few years.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's not going to slow down. And what the scary thought is, he's only going to get quicker as well, because the more time he spends behind the wheel of a Ferrari, the better relationship he builds with Ferrari. He's just going to get quicker and more confident, and he's such a sportsman. He's running over to Gilbert Yates to congratulate him on what is, in theory, Tom Fleming on the top step of the podium and graduate of Tom Fleming's School of Racing on the 2nd step.
Yes, data school, I suppose, yes. Gilbert Yates, yeah, getting the congratulations. And great to see them celebrating together. A TF1-2 it is, as I was instructed to call it if it happened. Fleming and Gilbert Yates. Great to see them both having such a good race, but also such great results.
Yeah, it's brilliant to see the pair of those two, just chatting to each other after the race. I'm sure they will probably go over data a little bit more, but the one thing I found outstanding about that race was Tom Fleming's consistency. There was 5 laps just absolutely within hundredths of each other. Let's have a quick look at our Coppa Shell top 3. Finishing in 3rd place was Connor with 78. That was Mike Dewhurst. He had a busy day yesterday, a busier day today, but 3rd place for him in race number 2 here this weekend. That worked for him. Stephen Hunter, he's had a fairly successful weekend as well, crossing the line in 2nd place in race 2 here this weekend. But Robert Rees, the day didn't get quite underway the way he would have wanted yesterday, but he's converted the back of the grid to the top step, and once again today the front of the grid to the top step once again. Now we've got John Dillon. He finished 3rd in our 2nd race of the weekend, so onto the podium once again. Gilbert Yates, what a performance on the Sunday. Saturday not quite his way. Sunday it really worked for him, joining his driver coach on the podium. But that man there, Tom Fleming, what a performance. 2 from 2, fastest laps both days, pole position both days. He's done a clean sweep. But down in the pit lane we have Amanda Stretton, and hopefully we can hear from one of our drivers.
We certainly can. Yes, I've managed to find the man with the hat that everybody wants this weekend, isn't it? It's the winners, the Pirelli winners cap. Now listen, yesterday you made it really difficult for yourself, qualifying at the back, coming through to the front. Today, walk in the park.
Oh, hardly a walk in the park, but absolutely, it was a great race. And it was just the best place to start and certainly the best place to finish. Absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Well, huge celebration with you and the team when you got out of the car. You must be really happy.
I'm so happy, and I'm ever so grateful for the whole team to get me back on the track today after yesterday, and to get the coaching and everything absolutely fantastic. To see me through right to the end and to bring that first back for everybody is absolutely amazing.
Well, Rees, congratulations. You are the winner of the Coppa Shell. Congratulations to you. And we will now endeavour to go down and look for the overall winner, Tom Fleming, who will be making his way down to the podium. Here he is. I can actually see him now. He's over on the outside. Stuart, if I can grab you. Well, Tom, congratulations to you. That looked like it was easy.
Again, like, it's never as easy as it looks. I was pushing through the entire stint whilst trying to manage my tyres as well. And yeah, like, I did the same lap time on lap 2 as I did at the very end as well. You know, just keeping it really consistent whilst trying to manage the tyres and around this super draining, like mentally draining circuit. But yeah, no, it was a really good race.
And of course, you have a double whammy on your plate as well, because not only are you racing the car, winning in the car, you're also coaching the guy behind you. How much in the race were you actually looking back to see where he was?
Well, I mean, you can ask my engineers. I was asking him, you know, every other lap, how's Gilbert getting on? How's he doing? And then I heard Morrow unfortunately had like a gearbox issue and fell back. I was asking, you know, what's the gap between him and John Dillon? I think he was 3rd. And I'm just so happy for him. You know, he's done an amazing job. He's only done a couple of test days before we've come into this round. And, you know, he's definitely, I feel, got the natural talent for it, you know, because he's rocked up against some really stiff competition and done super well straight away. So I can only take so much credit, but he's done a really, really good job, and I'm so happy for him.
Well, listen, many congratulations to you. Off you go down to the podium and enjoy the champagne. Race winner, Tom Fleming.
Fleming, and yeah, I'm glad he picked up on the consistency as well. But I suppose now everything's said and done here on Sunday, Adam, let's have a little look back at some of the highlights from the weekend.
Welcome to the Brands Hatch Podium on day 2 of Ferrari Challenge UK here in Brands Hatch. And it's going to be Trofeo Pirelli Podium, of course, that we get underway first of all. And taking P3, please big it up for John Dillon. 2 times on the podium this weekend. Well done, John. He sprints to the podium. P2, it's Gilbert Yates. Well done, Gilbert. And then to the top step of the podium, quelle surprise, we may say, it's Tom Fleming. So well done to our top 3. Tom will climb to the top step of the podium. We rely upon our ambassador, Ferrari driver Giancarlo Fisichella, to make the trophy presentations. John Dillon in receipt of P3. And stand by, Gilbert Yates. Here comes your P2 trophy. And then to the bent mantelpiece of Tom Fleming. Here comes the P1 Race Winners Trophy. Let's welcome a representative from HRO in here as well. The winning dealer, of course, they will head onto the podium as well to be presented with the trophy by Giancarlo Fisichella. And as if that were not enough, we have more for you, because Sean Marriott here from Pirelli to make the Pirelli presentation as well to Tom Fleming. And there we have it, gents, if you will, merged together on the top step of the podium for the official photograph. Smiles all round. So well done once again to John Dillon, Gilbert Yates and Tom Fleming. Our Trofeo Pirelli, 1, 2, 3. Stand back. Tom then getting right royally covered. Rightly so, in my opinion. He deserves that. Great showing from Tom Fleming. Great showing from all of our drivers. And of course, he and Gilbert very much something of a pairing with the driver coaching going on from Tom Fleming. And to see them both on the podium will be great. Great for them and great for Charles Hurst, of course. As well, Andrew Morrow working... of course, driving, unfortunately not being able to finish the race, but his day will come. I'm sure we'll see him back in the UK Series. A full campaign in Europe. We're ready right now for our Coppa Shell podium. And taking P3 in Coppa Shell, Mike Dewhurst. Well done, Mike. Taking P2, here comes Peter Hunter. And then on the top step of the podium, 2 out of 2, Robert Rees. Once again, we call upon our Ferrari ambassador and driver, Giancarlo Fisichella, to make the trophy presentations. First of all, to Mike Dewhurst. Well done on your P3. Peter Hunter, about time, P2. And on the top step of the podium, P1 again, Robert Rees. Let's invite Dick Lovett Swindon onto the podium as well as the winning dealer. Rush along, sir. Thank you. And Giancarlo Fisichella will make the podium presentation. So there we have it then. And everyone gets together for the group picture, of course. And then, of course, it will be time to celebrate our Coppa Shell podium. Oh, and I have to say, Peter Hunter, that was but a really disappointing dribble. Sorry to say that. There we have it, the podium's done and dusted. Let's go back to our race control right now. And Jack and Adam.
Great stuff. Cheers from down in the pit lane, and great to see the podium take place. I know Adam enjoyed that one indeed. Tom Fleming walks away from this weekend championship leader, 35 points. John Dillon sat there in second place on 21, 14 points away. Gilbert Yates breathing down his neck, only 2 points behind John Dillon, 16 points away from the top at the moment. Andrew Morrow leaving in what for him will be quite a disappointing fourth place, only walking away with yesterday's points. However, tied on points with Pranav Vangala, the pair of those two tying for fourth, and Hemandra Pillai walking away from this weekend on 9 points in fifth. But a couple of those drivers, Tom Fleming notably, hopefully he will be back, but that may just be a slightly broken season for him. In terms of Coppa Shell, how are the points looking like there? Robert Rees undoubtedly walking away with a massive haul of points from this weekend. 33 points he leaves with. Peter Hunter, since yesterday, picking up 2 places. It's been a very good performance from him on 21 points. However, he's only 1 point clear of Gary Redman in third. Mike Dewhurst leaving on 17 points. Darren Howell leaving this weekend on 14 in fifth place, and Stephen Dobson obviously picking up some points today. 7 of those points, 26 points away from Robert Rees. But Adam, that podium, you enjoyed that, didn't you?
Great podium, great festivities. What a way to start Ferrari Challenge UK 2024. Last word to you, Jack. What a day.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, whether it be on the live stream or at the circuit. If you are at the circuit, we wish you a very safe journey home. And of course, a massive thank you to Pirelli and Shell for providing their ever-dying support for Ferrari Challenge globally, but Ferrari Challenge in the UK as well. It's been an absolute pleasure. So from myself, Jack Werrell, Adam Weller alongside me, Amanda Stratton and Dave Richardson down in the pit lane, and everybody else behind the scenes, we wish you a very safe journey home. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.